Hey guys, the Joe Madden Sports Podcast here. Joined this afternoon by Steve Buchanan of Draftkings. Steve, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you having me on. Thanks so much.
We are going to try to keep these questions normal. We were laughing behind stage, you guys, that there's no bad questions. Sometimes is not going to try to put you on the spot. I want to hear about you. I want to hear about how you got started in this industry. Firstly, where did the love for sports come from?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I obviously grew up on. My grandfather took me to some of my first baseball games, and that's kind of where I just came, enamored with all this stuff. And then I ended up going to school for broadcasting. So that's always something I wanted to do. And my first radio job was on a poker radio show. Okay. So I was covering poker stuff for about 4 or 5 years. And then got into a couple local radio stations, had my own show for a while, and then ended up at Draftkings. That's really kind of the short version there. But it's been such a fun journey, especially for doing this for over 10 years now. I'm only 35, but doing this for about 10 years now, I just absolutely love it. It's great industry to be in.
Okay, now when you first came into this industry, it was a taboo kind of industry. We all know that. What is the best change you think you have seen over the last 10 years since you joined?
I mean, just the acceptance of this whole industry, right? Like, daily fantasy had such a, all that controversy years and years ago. Sports betting was like, something you couldn't speak about unless you were, in a dark alley or something like that. It's the only time you could do sports betting or anything like that. But I think just the general acceptance of it in, across the country has been the biggest change. And now look at all the people who have jobs now or employed or can create content because of that acceptance. It's been a huge mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you remember any experiences where you either told someone like a friend or a date or a family member what you were doing and they just looked at you like you're crazy?
Oh yeah. I mean, trying to start in radio, like that was my big thing. I wanted to be on the radio, and they're saying like the amount of acceptance in that or making it big is very, very little. And I said, well, that's fine. I'm going to at least still try, and then say that I at least tried to do so. So, and then people look down on you like, oh, you're not getting paid a lot to do radio, which was true. When I was doing like local radio, next to nothing. And, I had another job after that. So you try to be a star in the afternoon, and then you're working some bum minimum wage job after that. You feel it's like two different personalities. But just getting through that, and then obviously being here, like I'm on MLB Network 3 times a week. Like I never would have imagined that's something that I'd be doing on a week-to-week basis. So it's been something. But there are a lot of doubters out there, but we put them to rest.
Okay, you put the doubters to rest. You've definitely proved that you deserve to be here in this industry. You're absolutely crushing it. Who is your biggest supporter?
Oh, absolutely my mother. Absolutely my mother. That. She was always behind me there. I mean, there were days where I absolutely did not want to continue doing it because it felt like it was going nowhere. And she would constantly not pressure me, but really push me to be like, you want to keep doing this. You have a talent. You're going to make it someday. And if it wasn't for her, truly, I would have given up years and years ago, because this is not an easy industry to break into. There's a lot of things you have to go through and kind of, pay your dues and all that. But she always kept pushing me, and, here I am.
Oh, bless her. What was your fallback? Like, where did you think you'd go if things just didn't work out in this industry? Did you have one?
Nope. But I think in a way, while that wasn't the safe way, I think that was also a way where it's like, well, I have to keep trying this, because if I don't succeed in this, what am I going to do? Because I was working other jobs while doing the radio thing, and even while I was first at DraftKings, I had a full-time job that I was working while doing content for DraftKings. So it was always like, could I work at these other jobs? Yes, but there wasn't like a foolproof fallback option. And I think in a way that ended up being helpful, because that really kind of pushed me to keep going and keep trying. And then, it ended up all working out in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. When there's no safety net, you just have to nail it. You've been killing it, Steve. Do you remember your first bet that you ever made, or how you got into the love of gambling?
I wish I could remember my first bet, because I wish I knew how bad it was at the time. Because when you first start betting, you're betting with your heart, right? Oh yeah, the Red Sox should win today. What's this -1, 220 line? Whatever. I'll just pay that, and I want them to win. And you think that's a great bet, but now it's like, oh my God, I would never take -220 for the Red Sox, right? So I wish I could remember what my first bet was, but it's been a few years now that getting into betting, because obviously it hasn't been as accessible as it has now. but we all had our, our ways of getting it done, whether, it was frowned upon or not. But I really wish I could remember what my first bet was, because I bet I would laugh at myself for what a terrible bet it most likely was.
I think all of us would if we're telling the truth. Is there any stories that you remember, like any of those best bets or worst beats that have stuck with you over the years?
So I mean, I have a bet that I'm very proud of. It was from last year. I bet Robbie Ray to win the Cy Young Award at 80-1 odds.
Wow.
It was just, I had been watching him pitch with Toronto, and he was just like on such a great run. So then I started to go through what his schedule would look like for the rest of the year. And obviously it's not going to stay that way, but like you had a general idea of what it would be. Cause I was going through and I was looking at all these teams, and I'm like, more than half the teams that he were facing were like under 500 and extremely strikeout prone teams. And I'm like, the odds just aren't correct at 80-1. So I'm going to take a shot. And then I went even further, is I constantly kept promoting it. I went on MLB Network and I'm like, I'm taking Robbie Ray 80-1. Because here's the thing. I go on and say that and he loses. Well, everyone's like, well, he was never going to win to begin with. Yep. He was 80-1. If I win, well, now I'm the guy. Oh, yeah. Now I'm the guy who bet him at 80-1. Yeah. And it got to the point where MLB was contacting me for different shows when it was getting time to announce the winner, because it really looked like he was going to win. So that day they announced the Cy Young Awards. I was on 3 different shows on MLB Network just talking about like this journey of getting here and how did you even come up with this? So no matter what anybody says, they can say my career has been the worst of all time. I will always have that one win, and I will always hold that one win. I'll put that on my resume. I don't care. Bet Robbie Ray 81. Don't care. I'll put it on there. It has nothing to do with the job. But that was something that was like, it was kind of like, oh, I made it moment. You know what I mean? That I could say that and be like, oh, that was a huge win. And a lot of people tailed it because when you're betting 80-1, very minimal investment, but a huge return on your investment, right? So a lot of people tailed it, and I was getting winning tickets, and that was so cool to see that, because some people, they're cashing hundreds of dollars here for something that I was responsible for. Obviously I didn't pitch, but putting that out there, and then that was such a cool moment for me to see that and to kind of celebrate with people. Like, that was awesome. Like, I will always remember that was such a cool moment for me.
Yeah, that is an incredible moment. I'm glad you've been able to have it, and I hope you have so many more in the future. Tell us more about what you have going on at Draftkings.
Yeah, so obviously, Draftkings is evolving so fast. Like, it feels like every week I go to work and there's something new that they're working on, or something new coming on. But I just love putting out content for baseball. Like, that's always been my passion. I do football content too as well. So we got the All-Star game coming up. I'll be going out to the All-Star game doing content for them there. So I'm very excited about that. My first time at an All-Star game, but just kind of holding it down for baseball, posting information that hopefully people can use to win bets, just to provide that insight, because we're all busy. Everybody is working and grinding. People don't have time to like research their bets and all that. So I try to do my part to do the research for you, and then hopefully they win. But it doesn't always happen. But at least when I'm giving out plays, there's some insight. There's a reason behind that. I'm not just taking a dartboard and throwing it and going, take this, and this. That's what you're taking for today.
Thank God you are not, or putting the dog treats on the ground and seeing which one your dog runs to. Because
right. Yeah. Oh, I've seen some of the other content, by the way. That does exist.
It absolutely does exist. That's why we can laugh about it. I got killed on the diamonds yesterday completely. We saw some underdogs really win. My Toronto Blue Jays got destroyed by the Oakland A's with Alek Manoah starting, a game that I just did not expect them only to get 1 run, and Oakland A's to get 5. So today, game 2 of this series. Any thoughts on how my Toronto Blue Jays will do?
Yeah, so I think this is a great game, and I love making these bets, and it's focusing on the first 5 innings. Nice. And I think that this is really like an edge in these games during the first 5 innings, because when you bet the whole game, once the starters are out, you have no idea who's coming out of that bullpen, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But there is no rhyme or reason when it comes to that when you're making your bets initially. Through the first 5 innings, ideally, you're betting on 2 pitchers and the 2 starters for that game. So I really like trying to focus on that, because that's where you can kind of dig into stats and all that. So I really like taking the over 4 runs through the first 5 innings in that game. I don't have to tell you, Yusei Kikuchi is nothing but inconsistent, right?
Oh, so inconsistent. He
Oh my
kills
God.
me.
He came from my beloved Seattle Mariners, was happy to see him go, and now he's with your Toronto Blue Jays. So I'm sorry for that.
I'm sorry too. Yeah.
But this is someone who, even after giving, even after allowing just 3 runs in his last 2 starts, his ERA for the month of June was over 7. I mean, that's a special kind of a person to have those good results at the end of the month and still have an ERA that high.
Yeah.
So his inconsistency putting guys on base, and then you got Adrian Martinez going for the A's tonight. Hasn't pitched much in the majors this year, but he struggled
10
in
innings,
AAA.
right? Only 10 innings.
10 innings. Like, come on, no big sample here, but he struggled in AAA too as well. So I look at a total of 4 runs with 2 vastly inconsistent pitchers. Like that play a lot. The Blue Jays have also been one of the better first 5 over teams in the league. You'd be up over 7 units if you're betting them all season long. So I like the over in that game through the first 5 innings. Get that at -120 on DraftKings.
Okay, gotta love it. What about the New York Yankees and the Pittsburgh Pirates going at it today? This should be an interesting one. Yankees off a loss.
Right. Yankees off a loss, which is rare, by the way. There's really not much you can look into trends when they lose because they don't lose very often. But you're talking about like 2 different teams that are just on 2 different spectrums of the universe right now with the Yankees and the Pirates. Yankees are running out Jameson Taillon tonight. He's been great. The Yankees are 13-2 when he takes the mound this season. But I like taking the Yankees on the run line because if you're looking at the money line, you're paying a massively premium price. Don't want to do that. So taking them on the run line with Taillon taking the mound, they're 11-4 on the run line. Then you got Jose Quintana, who had a really strong start to the season. It's fallen off dramatically. The way he was pitching the first 2 months of the season made absolutely no sense. He's not that type of pitcher at all. Now he's got to go face a Yankees team who are just clubbing anything and anything covered their way. And Quintana's coming off a month of June where he gave up 5 of the 7 home runs that he's given up on the season. That's a massive amount.
That is.
And then you have the Pirates bullpen. They have been putrid. I don't know what family. If you,
it's a good word for it. I'm glad you used putrid.
Love that word. I use that as much as possible. Asinine is another word that you could describe.
Oh, that's a good one. Asinine.
Love asinine. But their bullpen over the past week, 7.30 ERA. So if you're telling me I need the Yankees to win this game by 2 runs, I'll take that all day.
What do you think? Go ahead.
I just said that I love that one at -1.5 of having them win by 2 runs. That's something they've obviously done numerous times this season. So give me that against the Pirates.
Now, what do you think of their team total? We got a team total for the Yankees at 5. We're not paying much juice to hit that over. Do you think they'll go over the 5 today? Because I played it. So please tell me yes.
Well, okay. I'll try to pander this to your liking. The only thing about the 5 total is just that that's a large total, right?
It is.
So if I'm playing team totals, I usually really try to stay in the 4.5 range. So we need to at least get 5 here. But with that being said, with how bad the Pirates bullpen has been, I don't mind that play at all, because if I'm thinking they're going to get Quintana out of here early, then they get into that bullpen that's been struggling, then you would imagine that they're getting over that 5.5 team total. If I were to pick, I would be sticking with the run line, but I'm going to give you some good juju and say I don't mind the team total either.
Okay, I love it, Steve. We'll talk about one more game here. We got the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Atlanta Braves. Braves coming in as the favorite at home. Total up to, well, it hasn't moved. 9.5 for the total. What are you liking in this one?
I see. This is the one I do like the team total. The Cardinals over 4.5 runs. That's at -110. They're going up against Ian Anderson. I don't know what his deal is. He just doesn't want to pitch. He goes out to the mound and he's been getting shelled. Start after start after start. The month of June that he just had, that was the worst month of his major league career. He only threw 28 2/3 innings, but he gave up 22 runs on 37 hits, had a 6.91 ERA. Those 22 runs allowed were only 1 less than he gave up in the months of April and May combined. So he has been getting shelled when he takes the mound right now, puts up too many men on base, averaging over 4 walks per 9 inning. And then the Braves bullpen has been very shaky as of late. So I see this Cardinals team who has 2 potential MVP candidates hitting in the heart of that lineup with Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. You're telling me this team's not going over 4.5 runs? I'm saying they are, with all the things that I just told you. 4.5 runs. See, that one feels like a run too low. That I expected to be 5.5 runs. So when I saw 4.5, that's me dropping the money on it. you got to take the over 4.5 for the Cardinals.
Now, when you're seeing a pitcher like Ian Anderson struggling so much as of late, are you looking into what's happening in his personal life? Like there seems to be something happening off the field for him.
Do you know this? Because I don't know anything about this.
No, this is something that I'm interested in to see. And I thought maybe you'd have some insight.
I do not. I do not. I will say that, there are many Instagram sleuths out there. Like when someone says like, oh, like when Kyler Murray like unfollowed the Cardinals, I sit there and I go, how do you know that? How did you manage to get there and start going through it? Like, how did we get to that point? So if there are any Instagram sleuths out there, I would love to know if Ian Anderson is having some personal problems, because maybe that's the answer. So we need to get the Instagram sleuths on there, because they always seem to figure this out. I don't have time to go through Instagram followers and likes and all that. That's not me. But I will happily read the news for anybody who does do that.
Okay, I love it. Steve, where can people find you on socials? Are you all over? Are you on the gram, Twitter? I would know you're on Twitter. Are you on TikTok as well? What are you on?
So on Twitter at @SBuchanan24. Very simple. I have a TikTok. I've made like 6 videos. I really keep promising myself I need to be more active on there. So maybe, you pushing my TikTok is the boost that I need. But that is Steve.Buchanan. I think that's the inspiration I needed. So if you start seeing me being more active on TikTok, that was because of you.
Okay, I'm going to go follow you right after we are done here. Give you that little bit of extra pressure that I'm following too now, Steve. Let us know what you have going on at Draftkings this week, where people can check you out and watch your shows.
Yeah, so I'll be on MLB Network Wednesday and Friday, usually on about 10:50 in the morning on the east side. So you can catch me on there, and then on the Draftkings YouTube page, I'm on every Tuesday and Thursday talking about Major League Baseball. And then I always put my stuff out on Twitter too as well. So if you can't catch it live, you'll be able to watch it on my Twitter at @SBuchanan24.
Okay, Steve, absolute pleasure having you on the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. Thank you for joining me. Can't wait to have you on again. I have to. It was a lot of fun today. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Have a good one.